Chapter 8, Return. I got up early the next morning. Packed a few essentials, my laptop, and some documents, woke Jen, and we left. At the station, we said a quick goodbye. We hugged briefly, and then I had to catch the train. The journey dragged on endlessly. Luckily, I managed to bury myself in work so time passed faster and I avoided thinking about Mark. Although, my thoughts kept drifting back to him anyway. After a few long hours, we finally pulled into my station. There. Waiting for me was the warm, smiling face of my loyal friend and business partner, Marjetka. We hugged tightly, chatting as we walked to her car. We made the most of those few moments. We both knew we wouldn't have many like them in the coming days. Naturally, we started with gossip, then moved on to personal matters, and finally, business. By the time we reached the office, I was fully up to date. I took a deep breath. All right, let's do this. I put on my cold, professional expression and stepped out of the car. In just a few weeks, I had completely forgotten how brutal the business world could be. Endless meetings, negotiations, hovering over contracts, working late into the night. And at the end of the day, when you collapse into bed exhausted, there's only one question left. Do I really need this? Do I truly want all of this? Where did those dreams go, the ones where I used to sit with colored pencils, creating, full of excitement? I missed the simplicity. The freedom to create. What I was doing now, wasn't that anymore. It was cold. Draining. And I hadn't enjoyed it in a long time. I made a decision. I think it's time. Marjetka. We really need to talk. The next day, with a heavy heart, I stepped into her office. She already knew. She had been watching me all week. She had seen the change. We had touched on this before Jen and I moved back to Traven. Just as I was about to open the door, Mark came down the stairs with a stiff stride and a furious expression. He approached the car, clearly ready for a confrontation, yanked the door open, and froze. He looked disheveled. An unshaven beard, tousled hair, a wrinkled shirt. If I hadn't known him, I would have thought he was a homeless man. He stood there, stunned, as if struck by lightning. His gaze locked onto me, as though he couldn't believe his eyes. Then his expression collapsed, anger melting into something entirely different. If he had been ready for a fight before, now he was completely disarmed. His eyes swept over me, from my face, to my slightly unbuttoned blouse where the neckline revealed a little too much, and further down, to my skirt, lifted too high, leaving very little to the imagination. Then he moved. He stepped closer. He leaned over me, unfastened the seatbelt, grabbed my upper arm roughly, and pulled me out of the car. My back hit the metal of the vehicle. He pressed his entire body against mine. For a few seconds, he stayed still. His gaze was intense, wild and yet helpless at the same time. He took a deep breath, as if he wanted to take in everything that was me, while at the same time calming himself. He looked as if he didn't know what to do.
I hadn't been to work for 2 days already. Right, that's enough, I snapped. Someone had parked on the driveway and blocked access for the workers. I stormed out like an enraged bull, ready for anything. You can't park here, I shouted from the steps. But apparently, someone had decided to ignore me. I walked up to the car, yanked the door open, ready for an argument. And then shock. I expected anything but what I saw. It was her. The reason for my misery. The reason I couldn't function. She sat calmly in a brand new Lexus, looking at me innocently from behind the wheel. My eyes ran over her entire appearance. Deep neckline, skirt lifted too high, and then her face. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. Then something shifted, as if someone grabbed me and forced me back into my body. Everything that had frozen for a moment now came back to life, almost violently. Something tightened in my chest. Relief? Anger? I reached into the car, unfastened her seatbelt, and pulled her out. I didn't even know what I was doing, what I should do. My body acted on its own. It needed her closeness, while my mind demanded answers. Torn, I pressed her against the car and just held her there for a few seconds, tight against me, as if I needed her for balance. I didn't let her go. My hand still held her upper arms. Too roughly. But I didn't care. A month. You didn't contact me. My voice was low, hoarse, almost threatening. Where were you? I wanted to know. No. I demanded an answer. Tell me. She looked at me, defiantly, then answered like a shot.
Home.
For a moment, I froze. I didn't expect that reaction. My grip tightened on its own. I saw she was in pain, but she refused to show it. Your home is here. With me, I said, gesturing toward the house. My hand slid from her upper arm to her neck. Gently, more carefully, like I was afraid I might transfer the pain I was feeling onto her. She sighed. Her gaze dropped to my chest, as if looking at me hurt her. You just disappeared. I leaned my head closer to her hair. Without a word. Without goodbye. I didn't know where you were, I whispered. My voice was rough with pain, with the need for her. I lifted her chin with my thumb, forcing her to look at me. Do you even know what you're doing to me? She didn't answer, still silent. But I could feel her, the tension in her rising. She began to respond to my touch, slightly, almost imperceptibly leaning into my hand. Her body softened, becoming more receptive. Her lips were no longer pressed into a tight line. They parted slightly, as if inviting me closer. I stepped back. I knew I would lose control. Here, in the middle of the road. I took her hand and pulled her toward the house.
His grip was both gentle and unyielding. The energy between us shifted rapidly. The closer we got to the entrance, the more palpable the tension became. The air was charged, desire almost tangible. Inside, he stepped closer and carefully wrapped his arms around me from behind. Gently, he turned me to face him. His gaze drifted over my face, across my lips, and back into my eyes. My heart began to race. I saw him as clearly as he saw me. His hand slid from my wrist, higher, along my forearm, to my upper arm, and then to my neck. This time slower, as if he needed to be sure he was allowed. His breathing deepened. And then, he pulled me to him. Not roughly, not possessively. But with the full weight of everything that had happened. The tension snapped, not in anger, but in something far more dangerous. I didn't move. Despite everything. I surrendered. Again I gave in. Mark. Fear, tension, and desire, all in a single word. This time, without asking. Gently, just for a moment, as if testing whether I would stop him, his lips found mine. In that soft touch, I felt everything. He stilled. Just for a moment. For a second, then he gently pulled my head closer. He was losing himself. His fingers slipped into my hair. His touch found my neck, lingered for a moment, then moved lower. And then there was no more gentleness. It became too little. It dissolved into something raw. The kisses lost their restraint. They grew deeper, more demanding. He lifted me onto the desk without breaking eye contact, and pressed himself against me like he needed that closeness more than anything else. We didn't speak. Breathless, satisfied and caught somewhere between what had been and what had just happened.